Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Battery, the first Tuesday in January. Yeah, I think so. Welcome. Hi, I'm Stacy. I'm the head of member event programming here at the Battery. Thanks so much for being with us. And welcome to a conversation with Tony Hale and Anne Kauffman, hosted by Pam MacKinnon, our esteemed panel.
Nice.
Tonight is presented by the American Conservatory Theater, which is featuring Will Eno's Wakey Wakey at A.C.T's Geary Theater beginning January 23rd. We have flyers in the back for discount codes to the play for all of our Battery members and friends, so please pick those up on your way out. Without giving too much away, the play is an intimate comedy about love, life, and what it means to be human. Written by Will Eno, directed by Anne Kauffman, and starring two-time Emmy Award winner Tony Hale. So thankful and grateful for you to be here. I tell you.
I'm so happy for the free wine.
It's our own wine.
Is it really? Wow.
We're also excited to have some of A.C.T's key staff, including its leadership artistic director, Pam MacKinnon, and executive director, Jennifer Bielstein, with us tonight, as well as several A.C.T trustees who are also Battery Club members. You can raise your hands, Rusty Root. And Yasha Kaikas-Wolf. Thank you for being, and Jessie Lee Eller. Okay, now I'm going to introduce you to the panel. Lots of accolades, so please bear with me. So much to tell about their careers. Our host, Pam MacKinnon, is celebrating her second season as A.C.T's artistic director. She is a Tony, Drama Desk, and Obie Award-winning director, having directed upwards of 70 productions around the country, off-Broadway and on-Broadway. Her credits include The Parisian Woman with Uma Thurman, Amelie, a new musical, David Mamet's China Doll with Al Pacino, Edward Albee's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and Bruce Norris's Clybourne Park. And her awards include the Tony Award, Drama Desk Award, Outer Critics Circle nomination, Obie Awards, and the Lucille Lortel Award nominations. Welcome, Pam.
Thank you.
And Director Anne Kauffman, I hope I'm not glossing over that, is a New York-based freelance director. She's the artistic director of New York City's Center's Encores Off Center. Her recent credits include Fire in My Mouth by the New York Philharmonic, 100 Days, New York Theater Workshop, the Public Theater's Under the Radar Festival, and the La Jolla Playhouse, The Lucky Ones at Ars Nova, Mary Jane at the Yale Repertory Theater, and A Life at Playwright Horizons. She's a resident director at Roundabout Theater Company, a founding member of the Civilians, a board member, an associate artist with Club Thumb, a member of the Stage Director and Choreographer Society Executive Board, a trustee of SDC Foundation. Kauffman's awards include 3 Obie Awards, the Joan and Joseph Cullman Award for Exceptional Creativity from Lincoln Center Theater, the Alan Schneider Director Award, 2 Barrymore Awards, a Lucille Lortel Award, and a Lily Award. Welcome, Anne. In the third corner of the ring, Tony Hale started his career playing Buster Bluth on the groundbreaking series and has since garnered 2 Emmy Awards for his work playing Gary Walsh on the HBO hit Veep. Some of his other credits include a series of Unfortunate Events, The Informant, Stranger Than Fiction, Love, Simon, The Heat, Happy, Thank You, More Please, and voicing Forky in the new movie Toy Story 4. His children's book, Archibald's Next Big Thing, premiered as an animated series on Netflix this past fall. Please welcome our panel.
So we're going to open this up for questions in a few minutes, but it's my great pleasure to be the moderator of this panel. And so you're 11 days into rehearsing a play, and this is a play by Will Eno, who's a Pulitzer Prize finalist. And so, you know, we all bow down to Will, but he's not around, so we get to say whatever we want to. That's also. Right. And Will wrote this amazing play, it's a 2-character play, but it really is an exploration of Guy, the character that Tony Hale plays, in these like vital few minutes. And this play is an exercise in being as present as possible. Right?
so
And we just,
intense.
right? It's, well,
Yeah.
and it is intense. I mean, it's,
Are you present?
Right. It's always intense to be in a room together. You know, and I get to be mic'd right now and I'm talking, but we're actually just people in a room. So if someone dressed as a giant fork carrying a very heavy bag with only one arm showed up, we'd have to attend to that person, right? I mean, I've just did the...
He was a spork, but
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry, okay. So we're doing this play at A.C.T. and it's super exciting to me. I read this play about a year plus ago. Annie Kauffman and I have known each other for more than 20 years. I've known Will Eno for more than 20 years. Annie and I were in conversation actually about doing a different show. I was very interested in getting Annie to A.C.T. really early in my tenure here. We were talking about doing a big American classic that I hope we eventually do. But it's sort of, stuff, sort of well-made plans sometimes go south. And so I was reading this play. The first performer that came to mind was Tony Hale. Someone
Because I'm super neurotic.
super neurotic. No, so I read this play, and this play, and I'll have, I guess, maybe Annie talk first about it. They're 11 days into rehearsal. This is a play that sort of isn't a play. This is a play that has, a structure that kind of demands and also gives the audience an opportunity to be in the room together, to daydream at times, to completely fall in love with the characters on the stage, but also kind of like go on their own deeply personal journey. It's a play that, we in theater, when you're doing a play in a traditional theater, so there's like, space on this side, back wall, and then there's like the fourth wall that like seals it up, right? And so this play, a lot of plays have direct address, but this goes beyond that. This is a play that actually just like makes eye contact in a way, and just like puts people in the room.
Yeah.
And it thrills me. Annie, so a week and a half into rehearsal, has the play for you changed now that you're working on it from where it sort of started from reading it 6 months ago?
Well, I'm just going to back up a little bit and
Yeah.
talk a little bit about, because Will's not here, sort of
Yep.
the inception of the play.
Love it.
And, or what we call the inception of the non-play. It's an anti-play, non-play, anti-play, which is really exciting for me because I'm at a point in my own career where I'm looking for, something to stretch me a little bit. And I think that Will has written a conversation between Guy and the audience. And just so you all know, Will started writing a play a few years back with an artistic director of the Signature Theater in New York, and they were collaborating on this play. And in the middle, and the artistic director was ill with cancer, and in the middle of that process, passed away. And so Will scrapped the play that they were working on. He still had these dates that he was supposed to present something. And he wrote this play, Wakey Wakey. And what's extraordinary about the non-play, and it's something that we talked about, I think, in the very beginning, the first day of rehearsal, is sort of, what is this? What is the event that Guy is hosting here? And it's, Wakey Wakey. It's a kind of wake, and I kept looking for really deep meaning on what Wakey Wakey was. I was like, Will, what does it mean? He's like, well, my daughter called awake, Wakey Wakey. She's small, and she's so there's something very sort of honest and simple about it. I'm digging for all this meaning, but I do think, not to get too grim about it, but I actually think it's, I think that Will wrote this piece to give Jim Houghton a voice towards the end of his life. Jim Houghton was an extraordinary man and was very prolific up until the last moment of his life. And I think Will has created a piece that shows our potential up until the very last moment. And he's challenging what a play is. He's challenging what a life is. He's challenging what choices are. And he's sharing that very intimately with an audience. It's a lot of questions I think he had towards the end of Jim's life. And this sounds very morbid, but in fact, it's really freaking funny. I mean, it's Tony Hale also doing, happens to be kind of funny.
Lower your expectations.
But, and it feels really important. We've actually been talking to doctors and death doulas. Do you all know what a death doula is? Have you heard of this before?
It's also called an end-of-life doula. That's what
And, oh, right, we're not supposed to say death doula. Yeah.
Well.
In any case, we're end of
sounds
play.
like the
I know, it's
Grim Reaper.
You're like,
I'm your death
Annie,
doula.
I know, exactly. But one of the things that Will and these people who are employed in these jobs are trying to share with this particular culture, the American culture, is that death is part of life, and we're so freaking scared of death. And this is really a celebration of life that begins and ends with death. So, what was your question? Oh, where are we now? I don't know, y'all. 11, this always happens. I don't know how the further I get into a piece, the more confused I get, and I really, I'm sorry, did that totally freak you out? So I'm in that place of sort of like swimming in between these lines and figuring out sort of like, Tony is exploring this character, we're exploring this character and this end of life piece together, and we're in this beautiful moment of like, wait a minute, we thought we knew what he meant. What is he, we're getting below the surface, we're getting below the first meaning, and we're getting onto the second and third meanings. So that's where we are.
Great. And Tony, when you first read this play, because you have been doing some amazing TV and film work, and I know that you started as an actor in New York, doing some sketch comedy, doing like off Broadway, or downtown theater.
Way off.
Way. Yeah. Like all of us on this stage, right? But the last sort of 15, 12 years have been very TV centric, and then like a play came through your transom.
Yeah.
And when you read it, what was your first impulse toward it, or what?
It was a couple things. Tim Simons, who plays Jonah on Veep, he had seen the play in New York and knows Will, and called me and said, "Hey, I know they're thinking of you for this San Francisco production. I really highly recommend this play." And I haven't done theater it's been actually about 18 years.
Okay.
Okay.
Cue panic attack.
Okay. On all of our parts.
Okay. But he was like, "I really want you to think about this because I really think it would be fun for you." So I started reading it, and I just really resonated with. To give you a little backstory, I've been kind of on this contentment wave where this cartoon I do on Netflix called Archibald's Next Big Thing, it came out of this place where years ago when I booked Arrested Development, it was my big thing. It was my absolute big thing. And I got it, and it didn't satisfy me the way I thought it was going to satisfy me. And it really scared me because I got my dream, and it didn't satisfy me. And it's that whole thing, I think for so much of my life, I was like, that big thing is coming, that big thing is coming. And if you're always looking to your next thing, you're going to miss where you are. And it's that thing I love that because that actually happens in the show.
Yeah,
Exactly. But it's that whole thing, if you're not practicing contentment where you are, you're not going to be content when you get what you want. And so it was a big lesson. So now Archibald is a chicken who is in the book, who's always looking to his next thing, and this bee travels around with him, and the bee's like, "You got to just be, man. You got to just be." And then in the end, he realizes that this card that he got that says your big thing is here is right, that my big thing right now is talking to you guys. That's my big thing. And this play talks a lot about just really, picturing somebody in your life and in a time of just gratitude and thankfulness. And on the other extreme, I'm kind of also that guy that I have these impulses sometimes at these Hollywood parties where I'm just like, I just want to stand up and go, we're all going to die, right? Let's just break it down. And let's just like be kind and let's talk normally. And so I think this whole play really just brings it to the table. And we talk a lot about how our culture really sanitizes death. We just kind of don't want to talk about it. We kind of, what did we talk about? White unmarked van?
Oh yeah, like I don't know if you've all noticed that you don't see hearses so much anymore, but if you do see an unmarked white van, chances are there's a dead body in it, and we're just like, no one's like, they're just like kind of slipping through the night.
Yeah, and so nobody's kind of discussing it, and I don't know, it's just, this play just really investigates all that, and so I really resonated with it.
Cool.
So, good night. By the way,
See you in the theater.
Evian water, fancy. Just to put it out there.
Fancy.
We're not talking Poland Spring, we're talking Evian.
It's the Battery Club. It's the Battery Club.
Battery Club.
And what do you think? I mean, we're sort of like we don't want to like talk too much about what the audience experience necessarily is. That's kind of for people to experience.
You guys are all going to come, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if they leave tonight?
No,
like,
that guy's
nope.
like, no.
Yeah, nope.
All right.
Was on the fence and
Thumbs
definitely
down.
not. Definitely not. But what? I mean, what are your hopes and dreams? What do you think? What is in a rehearsal process where actually sort of that big scene partner is actually the audience. I mean, what do you hope to affect out there? And again,
I
this
see
is
you
like
looking at me.
No,
right
yeah.
now.
this is a week and a half into rehearsal.
Right,
So,
right.
There's a part in the play. What if we did the entire play? You
No,
don't
don't worry.
have to go.
it's short.
But there's a part in the play where it says, "Welcome to the second part of your life," and there's something really profound about that. That what's happening is, hey, you can make a choice right now to start thinking differently, and start maybe waking up to some things around you. And it's I just get excited about in TV and film, you don't, everything is kind of, you do a scene at the end of the film, and then you do a scene at the beginning of the film. Everything's kind of cut up, you have lunch in between, you go to your trailer, all this kind of stuff. It's like one long thing, a very communal situation, it's very intimate. And you're just in a group and just kind of thinking about a favorite person in your life, or an important person, or it could be anybody, and what is it about that person? And I don't know, I think that's a really fun shared experience.
Totally. And I feel like, again, what Will does so beautifully is that he brings you to what you think you understand. You're coming to a play, and that he reframes it. He keeps reframing things in a way that just gives you a fresh perspective on what a play is, what a life is, what humor is. So I guess for me, I feel like and this sounds like really like, I don't know, woo-woo or something, but I definitely feel like being in the presence of Will's language, you just come out being a slightly different person with a slightly different perspective on things, because his humor is so much about the uncanny framing of things.
Yeah. It's also not, I don't get it as like, ha-ha. It's not the kind of humor that's like, hey, good one. It's just a perspective on kind of life. And I mean, many times also I'll walk around and I'll be like, hey, we're spinning on a planet. Like, that's crazy, right? We're spinning, and we're just like going to Whole Foods, have a little lunch, and nobody recognizes, asteroid could hit us any moment of time.
What's your favorite?
And it's just that sense.
I'm getting a lot of like perspective, like a little window into Tony's
But it's
brain,
just like, it's that kind of, you take a step back and go, oh yeah, like that's crazy. Like there's another line that says, your body produced like I say, wow, we. And then I say, just so you know, your body produced 5 million blood cells in the time since I said, wow, we. You know, it's like, oh, I'm going to go get my Whole Foods. You know, it's like, it's just those kind of recognition of things.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, there is something about this play that sort of demands that the miracles be every day and the everyday be a miracle, right? And you keep on sort of swinging back and forth. We're also, you know, at A.C.T, because it's in the script, which also really excites me, that Will Eno is written in the script, like demanding that like there's a final stage direction that talks about, you know, make sure now the audience, you know, goes and has refreshments and has like some food that's mentioned in the play, and you know, so he's like demanding that we have a wake. He's demanding that eventually not all eyes be forward focused on the stage, but we mix it up. So as a theater, you know, and as, you know, I've been a freelance director my whole career, but now I'm a producer. It's like, how do we do that? So we're figuring out, like, what are the signs, you know, what is in, like, the fortune cookie that, like, what's the message in the fortune cookie that we will have made that relates to the play? There's also a line.
And if you guys don't all feel this, you're wrong. You're not getting it right. No,
it's, well, no, but there's a line in the play that talks about, you know, sort of having one of those great days, and part of the great day is that you've found a pen, and there's no one around, so I guess it's your pen now. And so throughout this is like insidery, battery-only club theater stuff, or, you know, sort of your insiders right now, I'm bringing you into the process. So of course we're going to hide like 20 pens a night around the theater, because I want people to have like that moment.
You guys must be like, what the hell is this thing?
But this is also like part of.
it's an escape room, is what we're doing.
But it's like both like in the script as well as like this meta theatrical event that we're creating in actually a very traditional theater space. Like that's the other thing of like when this play was done in New York, it was done, yes, it was done at a theater, but it was done in a very small space.
Yeah.
You know, and so I have both the privilege and the responsibility in the middle of this amazing city to have this 1,000-seat Beaux Arts Broadway house, right? And so what do you program? Well, of course you program Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet and, you know, Streetcar Named Desire. Of course you do that. But in addition to that, you also promote some really fucking amazing new American plays that aren't plays, that are kind of like, oh, by the way, we're all kind of human beings on this crazy planet, and what do we, like, how are we all moving forward? You know, this city is so buzzy, has been my, like, 1 year in experience. So what are the moments when we can actually, like, wait, we all just heard something? Wait, we're all, like, what just happened outside the window? Oh, it's happening outside the window, but we're all here. And I think Will gives us that and, like, changes our molecules, which is really exciting. And weird. It's all really weird.
It's really weird, you guys.
Again, like going from like doing a lot of like fantastic TV and film is going into a theater rehearsal process. Does that feel different right now?
Terrifying? Yes. It does, but it's.
I mean, you talked about like continuity, and eventually you put it all together, and but
I miss it. But the thing is, like,
different?
TV and film, you really, to be candid, you really don't rehearse much. You just kind of, you show up. You're supposed to learn your lines, and then you have a quick blocking situation. I mean, if it's like a really, really heavy piece, and if it actually on Veep we did kind of have some rehearsals just because the choreography of the chaos was pretty intense. But you don't have a lot of, like if Julia was dropping her coat, like I had to grab it or something. But you don't have a lot of rehearsal time. So just to have, I guess, a month of rehearsal is a real gift. But it's so, I don't know. I just haven't spent this much time on like text. You know, like really thinking about it and. That's pretty exciting, just to kind of have that space. I miss it. I miss also just having that intimacy with the audience. I think that's just really fun. Like, this is fun. just to have, when we were doing Veep, Julie and I, you realize like, even though you don't have an audience, your performers are so tuned to wanting an audience. Like what's called Video Village, where they stand behind the monitor and just kind of, we call it Judgment Corner, where they just kind of like, but it's like, they just kind of watch the monitor, even though it's far away. If we heard a chuckle, it'd be like, it's like, oh, it's working, it's working. And, but it's just, we're just that sense of like, we're programmed to want feedback. Like, is this, just to kind of have a relationship. So I'm excited to have that on a nightly basis.
It's funny, the idea, right, like the sort of difference between theater and TV and film is this sort of like consecutive moment, like living in real time over a period of time and trying to like, and actually being responsible for carrying a narrative forward and not in pieces and not in 2-second whatever, bites or whatever. It just makes me think about working with a young actor in the theater who had never done theater before, very young, just done a lot of television. And when we were rehearsing, if she wasn't talking, it was she just disappeared. She disappeared and she went someplace else. In the theater, it's a wide shot always, right? I mean, there's no one off camera, and it's exhausting. I mean, I think I was like, oh, this poor young woman, she's exhausted. She can't. You have to actually keep alive for 2 hours and keep sort of engaged in something. And it was a real lesson for me to witness the different skill set that an actor has in the theater versus television and film.
And I will say, like, because of this process is very new to me, it's been a while, I'm so grateful to these guys because just the resources they've given, the encouragement, like, we've had these meetings with these end-of-life doulas, and we also had a meeting with a guy named David Kessler, he studies death and dying, and just like learning, it was so cool to just, both the doulas and this guy was saying, like, because there's visions that are mentioned in the play, that my character has these visions, and they say when somebody's a patient at the end of their life, most often they have these visions where they see people, and get this, they're always in the corners of the room. They're always in the corners of, I guess it's the ceiling. So it's not ahead, it's always in the corners, and without a doubt, it's always up there. And it's like, what? Like, that is so cool. Yeah. And so just to hear that and have those resources and put them into the text, that's really fun.
Yeah. And what has your experience been? Let's just talk a little bit about San Francisco and the Bay Area. Yeah. So you've lived in LA. I know that, Tony, you grew up in Florida.
Guys, I love Florida. I don't want to hear anything else.
All right. And
by the way, I love Cheesecake Factory and I love malls.
Samesies.
Well, because Annie, you grew up in Phoenix.
And I love cruises because cruises are pretty much Cheesecake Factory on water.
All right.
Yeah.
So what's it like living in this city right now for a couple months?
I live on a very high hill.
Right?
I live up Stockton. No, I don't live on Stockton. I live on Grant, but I walk up Stockton. And it's great. And these, my very...
What?
Why do you do that, Tony?
I enjoyed it. But Yasha and Rebecca and Jesse have invited me over. We've gone out, and so I've met friends.
Aw.
And so it's like, I don't know, I just really, I enjoy it. It's just, I lived in New York for 8 years. And so, I know.
Why? Can I look at her?
I believe you.
And so, Annie's my wife. No. So but I lived in there for 8 years, so it's and I've been in LA since 2003, so it's nice to get back to an urban, more of a city environment.
And didn't you have like shin splints from going up a hill?
Yeah, I had shin splints.
I was like, I didn't want to say anything, and you were saying to the movement to Danielle, I was like, I'm going to leave this conversation right now because walk a little. You know what I'm saying? LA, like, really intense.
Exactly.
Like, this is really
because you're always in your car in LA listening to podcasts. And I got shin splints walking up that hill.
My shins hurt. I was like, I gotta go to the
You're
bathroom.
like, okay, we'll give you a movement coach.
Yeah, okay.
But I was like, what's going on with this? So anyways, It feels better.
And you have a daughter who's really interested in Alcatraz. Why?
My daughter loves Alcatraz.
Why?
We've been twice, and last spring we went on during her Easter break. She wanted to go, and so we went to Alcatraz during Easter with another family and bought a little Alcatraz ornament. So
Can you spend the night there? Did you guys spend the
can
night?
you spend the night
Wait,
there?
can you ever? No.
No, Annie.
Well, it's a
you
nighttime
used to?
tour.
Oh, but did you
Annie,
used
I
to be
gotta
able
teach
to?
you about Alcatraz.
I've been there
No.
in the 70s.
But
so.
it's like
So did you used to be able to spend the night there? No. Can you have
Well,
a
if
party
you were
there?
arrested.
Could you spend like 8 to 20 there?
yeah. It's so fun.
Okay.
Anyways, but we would go and I love it. It's really fun.
And why, like, why?
I think she
why
just kind of likes, she's fascinated by prisons. She's a very joyful child. She really is.
This play about
Incredibly
death is very
she's really
joyful and
joyful.
daughter, yeah.
But she was just fast. She's watched the movie Alcatraz. I don't know, she just loves it. So, yeah. Guys, what about your kids?
Forget Toy Story, Alcatraz.
And Annie, you right now have a play running at Berkeley Rep.
I do.
So back-to-back directing in the Bay Area.
Is
How's-
correct.
How has that been for you?
Well, my family's from the Bay Area, and I have a lot of friends in the Bay Area, and I went to A.C.T. in 1988 for their summer training congress. I was an actor.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I was an actor. You know, actors.
He's right here.
So it's very familiar to me. I love the Bay Area. I went to school down in the peninsula, so I probably know some of you from way back.
Yeah, it's great being back here.
What is like you can just shout it out, even though this is against the rule. What is like a restaurant that you're like, you've got to go to?
nice, yeah.
Not like crazy.
San Francisco.
Shishi.
The Q&A
Not
goes
Chez
this
Panisse.
way. What?
Zuni.
Oh, right,
Oh,
still on
classic,
Market.
yeah.
On Market.
Classic, yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
Zuni's on Market?
Yeah, you don't need to write it.
The
we'll take it
brick
down.
chicken, right?
What is it?
Wait,
Power and water?
Kari?
What is it?
Kari?
Wait, flour
Okay.
and water. Power and water.
Wait, this is being recorded, right? So we don't need to write. If people, okay.
Flour
Google
and
it.
water.
Flour, water.
This is good.
Say it one more time.
Kakari.
Kakari.
That sounds
I can't believe Zuni is
fancy.
still a place to go. It's been forever.
Francis. What?
Rich table, yeah.
It's called Rich Table? Settle.
Yeah.
Is Red Rooster still around? Rooster or Spaceship Cafe? Wow.
Oh, I love Red Lobster.
Florida.
I took my sophomore date there in high school to Red Lobster. Just a side note. And I started hitting, no, I'm sorry, what was it? I started hitting the lobster, try to open it, and she's the one who had to say, that's red seasoning on the top. It was hard. And I was like,
Where is
okay.
she today?
I'm not sure. Where are you?
Facebook it.
Okay. The Progress.
Through the Progress? Yes? I thought there was like a booer over here. Okay, no, the Progress. Okay.
I will say Florida doesn't offer these options.